Does the Nutrivore Score incorporate inflammatory characteristics into the calculation? No. Well, sort of. Okay, let's talk about it. So I'm assuming by inflammatory characteristics, you mean things like the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 polyunsaturated fats, or a reflection of simple versus complex carbohydrates. But these things aren't inflammatory in a single food. In fact, the most inflammatory food is actually just too much food. So interestingly, studies show that as long as we're getting enough omega-3 fats, the ratio doesn't actually seem to matter in humans, and that high omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acid intake doesn't actually increase inflammation. Which is cool, because when you're looking at like prostaglandins and leukotrienes, it means that there's some kind of regulation beyond substrate availability, and that's too nerdy for this video. And sugar does not appear to be inflammatory in hypocaloric and eucaloric diets, at least up to like 25 to 30% of our calories from sugar. My point here is that is not a characteristic of an individual food. It is a characteristic of an eating pattern. And with the Nutrivore Score, we are looking to understand the food. So there's a lot of things that I don't incorporate into the score, like a correction for competitive binding with other nutrients, because that depends on all of the nutrients consumed in the meal, not just on what else is in that food. Also because that has even more to do with your digestive efficiency and hormones, your nutrient status, like your vitamin D levels. I think even if I could make a good argument for incorporating that into the Nutrivore Score, it would not actually be feasible. So the Nutrivore Score is just straight up a measurement of nutrients per calorie. There are no penalties for a food containing things like saturated fat or sugars, because again, that is problematic when you look at the level of the whole diet and eating patterns, not at the level of an individual food. No nutrients are weighted more heavily than others. This is a big problem in nutrient profiling, where systems are created in order to make a specific diet look like the right diet, rather than developing a nutrient profiling method that helps to teach you what the right diet is. And because the amount of each nutrient is already divided by the daily value, there's already the context built in terms of how much our bodies need. Now, I will say the immune system is a nutrient hog. It requires a huge amount of nutritional resources in order to function properly. And one of the first aspects of the immune system that suffers when we have dietary shortfalls of nutrients is the regulatory aspect, the part of the immune system that keeps itself in check. And that's especially true for nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, and zinc. So I could make a case for nutrient density being an inflammatory characteristic. Not a good case, but a case, because certainly the goal of Nutrivore of getting all of the nutrients our bodies need from the foods we eat without exceeding our caloric requirements is an anti-inflammatory eating pattern.